Hello, and welcome to Ask a Historian, brought to you by Heritage Mississauga. I'm Matthew Wilkinson, your host and historian with Heritage Mississauga. Together, we'll dive into the fascinating stories that shaped our city. Remember, you can send your questions to history@heritagemississauga.org and help us explore more local history and share the stories that help define our city. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us, and stay connected with Heritage Mississauga's programs and events. On today's episode of Ask a Historian, we will be sharing some backstories to some roads that you probably know and driven on or driven by, and we'll explore how their names came to be. Our first question today is, what is the backstory of Rogers Road? If anybody has ever noticed on Rogers Road, if you drive northwards just off of Glen Erin, north of Burnhamthorpe Road today, you'll find a short little street called Rogers Road. But the story of Rogers Road actually connects to the story of Burnhamthorpe Road. The route of modern Burnhamthorpe Road, for most of its course, follows a concession road that was established in the old survey of Toronto Township, that's historic Mississauga, back in 1806, mapped out by Crown Surveyor Samuel Street Wilmot. It was simply noted as the first concession road north of Dundas Street. The name doesn't quite roll off the tongue. To some of the early colonial era settlers, the route became informally known as the Back Line. So long before Burnhamthorpe Road took its name, some people referred to it simply as the Back Line. The reason for this name is that farms backed onto this road. Farms were laid out in long 200-acre rectangles, and for whatever reason, farmers tended to front their farms onto Dundas Street. That means they tended to build their structures, their houses, their barns, etc., onto Dundas Street, where the back of the farm, the fields and whatnot, would be up in the north end of the property, and these would be backing on to what would become Burnhamthorpe Road, or the Back Line. In the early years, Burnhamthorpe Road tracked through woodlots with few clearings and even fewer homes visible. Subdivision gradually over time would change that. Not subdivision in the terms that we think of them today, but as farms got broken up into smaller acreages, and multiple farms would be operating on what was historically single 200-acre properties. Although Burnhamthorpe Road was surveyed across the Credit River Valley, the width and depth of the valley made a bridge crossing very impractical. It was not until the early 1980s that Burnhamthorpe Road actually crossed the Credit River. Today, as you cross the river, modern Burnhamthorpe Road bends slightly southward, deviating from its original surveyed route. In part, this new course was made to ease the bridging of the deep ravine at Mullet Creek. Modern Burnhamthorpe Road does not rejoin its original surveyed right-of-way until after it passes Glen Erin Drive. But sections of what we would refer to in this as Old Burnhamthorpe Road, or the former route of Burnhamthorpe Road, do remain on our city. Take a look at a city map. Hold a ruler along Burnhamthorpe Road, and if you line it up straight as an arrow, you'll find older routes that are known today by different names: Fifeshire Court, Burbank Road, and Rogers Road. Back to the question of back to our original question here. All of those roads were once part of the original historic Burnhamthorpe Road right-of-way. East of the Credit River, the road came to carry the name of Burnhamthorpe Road simply because it led to the village of Burnhamthorpe, one of our lost villages today around what is Burnhamthorpe Road and Dixie Road today. If you go there today, you'll find a historic cemetery as well as a historic church that do survive. West of the Credit River, the route had informal names, including referred to as the Adamson Side Road and Rogers Road, both named after early prominent farming families. A portion of the old route still carries the name Rogers Road, whereas the stub of the Adamson Side Road section is now known as Burbank Road. Another small section, now disconnected from the other early routes, is known today as Fifeshire's Court. But again, back to your original questions here. Rogers Road, named after the early farming family, the Rogers family who farmed along here, is an original section or original part of the right-of-way of Burnhamthorpe Road. Our second question today is for a road in the Cooksville area called Crewenan Road, and wondering if it's named for anyone in particular because to them the name sounds strange. Crewenan Road, east of Cooksville, remembers an early doctor in our community. Although the road itself dates to the 1950s, the road name recalls Dr. William Poole Crewe. He lived between 1797 and 1861. He was the first resident doctor in Cooksville and one of the earliest licensed surgeons in Peel County. Dr. Crewe was born in Newcastle under Lyme, Staffordshire, England. Together with his wife Sarah, he came to Canada in 1833, sailing aboard the steamship SS Royal William, where he served as the ship's doctor. He arrived in Canada in the midst of a cholera epidemic, and his skills were in drastic need. He first resided in Quebec City before moving to Toronto in 1836, where he was granted a medical license to practice in Upper Canada. In 1840, or perhaps in 1841, Dr. Crewe relocated to Cooksville, now within Mississauga, where he would establish his own practice and reside for the rest of his life. The doctor purchased a 100-acre property east of Cooksville in 1841 and had a large brick residence built, which served as both his home and his office. The house became known as Stafford House. Again, he was from Staffordshire in England. Modern Cliff Road, named after Captain George Cliff, who would acquire the property in 1878 after Dr. Crewe's death, and Crewenan Road are on part of the Stafford House property. Dr. Crewe was a traveling physician, a mortician, and a surgeon, and as such, his skills were in wide demand. He visited patients as far away as Kingston and Goderich, and was known to travel far distances in any kind of weather. Dr. Crewe was particularly engaged with treating the sick during the ravages of the cholera epidemic between 1846 and 53, and the diphtheria epidemic of 1853-54, and doctors from surrounding areas were known to consult Dr. Crewe and seek his advice for treating the ill. His treatment for cholera was a combination of wine and brandy, calomel, mercurius chloride, camphorated tincture of a camphorated tincture of opium, and a tincture of nightshade. From Edward Rawlings' Almost Forgotten, Dr. Crewe was quoted as saying, "My 7-day, 24 hours a day practice was invigorating, but gradually I could feel it weakening me mentally and physically." Dr. Crewe passed away in 1861 at the age of 64 and was laid to rest with great reverence in Dixie Union Cemetery. Our third question today is about Reid Drive in Streetsville. If you've ever wondered about Reid Drive or where it's located, look for the big grain silos on the former mill property adjacent to the railway lands south of Streetsville, and you'll find a Reid Drive. You also look and you'll see one of the blue and gold Ontario Heritage Trust plaques talking about what was formerly known as Reid Milling. Yes, there is a connection between Reid Drive and Reid Milling. Just to the north of the railway tracks, where Mississauga Road becomes Queen Street at the south end of Streetsville, that's where you'll find Reid Drive. Reid Drive takes its name from Duncan Wallace Reid, who lived between 1857 and 1941. The road itself led, and still leads, to a mill. But the story starts much earlier than Duncan Reid's involvement. A mill is believed to have operated here along the Credit River since 1834, when water power was first harnessed by John Bouchard. In 1837, the site was acquired by John Beatty. John's widow, Helen, took over management of the Beatty Grist and Flour Mill after her husband passed away in 1842. Hetty was known as a formidable and dominant businesswoman of her time, when it was very rare for women to be involved in industrial, commercial, or economic enterprises. In 1861, the ownership of the mill was transferred to Helen's sons, William, Robert, and John Beatty. The mill remained in the Beatty family until 1895, when the operation was leased by Duncan Wallace Reid, who then purchased it from the Beatty estate in 1902. Under Duncan's ownership, the mill was initially named Credit Valley Flour Mills, although locally it was always known as Reid Milling. Duncan Reid revitalized and expanded the business, introduced modern machinery, and played an important role in the surrounding community, both through the services provided and employment. Duncan was succeeded in the mill operation by his son, Frank Reid, who lived between 1884 and 1966. In 1964, the mill was converted to electricity after having operated by water power for more than 130 years. Over its time, Reid Milling became very community-oriented, sponsoring youth baseball, soccer, and hockey, and supporting the Streetsville Bread and Honey Festival. In 1969, the mill was purchased by Matthews Wells Company Limited, which amalgamated into the Christie Brown and Company Limited. During this transition, the name of Reid Milling was retained, and a third generation of the Reid family continued involvement with the mill with Vice President Frank J. Reid and sales manager Donald Reid. In 1984, ownership formally transferred to Nabisco Brands Limited. In 1998, the name of the mill was changed from Reid Milling to Nabisco Milling, and in 2000, it became part of Kraft. By 2012, the mill was operated by Mondelez International, and in 2015, the mill was acquired by Ardent Mills, who continue the long tradition of flour milling in Streetsville today. Ardent Mills, the former BD Reid Mill, is the largest soft wheat milling operation in Canada, and together with nearby ADM Milling on Barbertown Road, provides an important link to the industrial heritage of Mississauga. Within the modern mill complex, the historic BD Reid Mill remains. As for Reid Drive itself, the road predates the involvement of the Reid family. The road appears on the 1859 Tremaine map of Peel County and the 1877 Historical Atlas of Peel County, and the road is simply referred to as the road to Beatty's Mill. It stands to reason that the road has likely been in existence as an access point to the mill site for as long as the mill has operated here. As such, the road likely dates back to the 1830s, although it takes its modern name from Duncan Wallace Reid and the prominent Reid family in connection to their significant chapter of involvement with the mill and the surrounding community. In 2004, the Ontario Heritage Trust unveiled a heritage plaque commemorating the history of Reid Milling, and it stands at the corner of Reid Drive and Queen Street today. Our last question today is about the origin of Harborn Road. It's got a fascinating short little history here into kind of the early years of settlement in Mississauga, a name that is retained on our landscape for a long period of time. Just north of the modern QEW and running west off Hurontario Street is a street called Harborn Road. The road takes its name from a large estate property, which had been built circa 1851 by Henrietta Jennings. Her daughter, Lucy, married Albert Parker, the younger brother of Sir Henry Parker and Sir Melville Parker of the Parker baronetcy of Harborn, Warwick County in England. Albert and Lucy purchased the estate from Henrietta Jennings in 1858 and named the house Harborn after the Parkers' ancestral estate in England. In 1872, Lieutenant Andrew Robertson Gordon, who had married May Elizabeth Parker, the daughter of Sir Melville Parker, purchased the Harborn estate and renamed it Craigmeal, after his family's home near Aberdeen in Scotland. The property remained in the Parker-Gordon family until 1876, when it was sold to William Moody. In the mid-1930s, according to local tradition, the grand home became the location of an illegal gambling operation. The house stood until about 1968, when it was demolished to make way for modern apartment buildings. The laneway to the home, in part, follows Sherrowby Road, which runs east off of Hurontario Street. Harborn Road, to the west, takes its name from the estate, as do other roads in the nearby Gordon Woods area, such as Gordon Drive, Harborn Trail, and Parker Drive. Thank you for spending some time with us here on Ask a Historian. I hope you've enjoyed this walk down memory lane, or at least this walk down the name origins to some streets within our community. Please like, subscribe, and follow us for updates on new episodes. And join us next time on Ask a Historian for more fascinating stories on Mississauga's history. Thank you.